the private contractor MPRI, Military Professional Resources Incorporated. MPRI is formally private, but in fact it's kind of secret device of the US Army. They have more 4-star general under contract than the Pentagon itself. If the Pentagon wants to do some dirty job and thinks they cannot get the money and they cannot get the approval of the US Congress, they give the job to this private company. At the beginning of summer 1999, MPRI brought this Bosnian Mujahideen back to the Balkans, especially into Kosovo, to help the Kosovo terrorist army KLA. They engaged them, they paid them monthly. A lot of Bosnian Mujahideen were involved in the big terrorist attacks of the last 5 years. So, speaking about 9/11, 5 of 7 Arabs in the center of the 9/11 plot were former Mujahideen fighters in Bosnia. 5 of 7. Nobody speaks about it.
What is required for you to get a visa approved to enter the United States? The type of information you have to supply is extremely detailed. But a high-ranking official in the US consulate of Jeddah, Michael Springman, revealed the fact that in that office, many CIA agents were working undercover and that the office was issuing too many visas far too easily to some very suspicious people.
I was told by a really good contact, a businessman outside the American consulate, that if I had sent one word to the State Department inspection team investigating what was going on in the consulate, I would be fired summarily.
Well, that office in Jeddah issued many of the 15 visas that were used by the hijackers to enter the United States. None of the 15 applications conformed to US visa regulations. For example, under the heading Destination, many of them wrote Hotel, New York or California, and in one case, just no.
And so, it was common practice to help the terrorists of Al-Qaeda to enter the United States. They came to be trained, and this went on for years and years. The same thing happened with the hijackers of September the 11th.
The terrorists, 6 of the terrorists, including Mohammed Atta, trained at U.S. military facilities, okay? Mohammed Atta went to International Officers School at Maxwell Air Force Base.
Maxwell Air Force Base in Alabama, Brooks Air Force Base in Texas. Their contact address, the Pensacola Naval Station in Florida, the Defense Language Institute of the Defense Intelligence Agency in Monterey, California. The hands of intelligence, they're all over these people.
So, to sum up, the main hijackers trained and fought in ex-Yugoslavia, where they were paid by a company of mercenaries that was connected to the Pentagon. Thanks to the CIA, they got entry visas to the United States. Once they were in America, they did everything they could to be recognized and to attract attention to themselves, since they were sure of their impunity. They trained in American military bases and went to flight schools, although they didn't learn to fly.
All the testimony about these lessons indicate that these men were completely incapable of maneuvering even small aeroplanes. For example, Mohammed Atta hired an aeroplane from a flight school, but he was not even able to take off. So he left it there on the runway and went away. Regarding 2 other pilots, their instructor, Rick Grazer, said to investigators and the press that he could not understand how these 2 could have maneuvered an aeroplane. His exact words were that it was like Dumb and Dumber in a plane.
Due funzionari dell'FBI, Colleen Rowley.
Two FBI agents, Colleen Rowley in Minneapolis in the state of Minnesota, and another who was in Phoenix in Arizona, sent messages to the FBI's headquarters in Washington, saying, more or less, watch out. There are many Arabs here who have enrolled in flight schools.
The first person in the flight school that called the FBI took a big risk, because at the time what he was doing was reporting about a customer, a paying customer. And those flight schools depended upon, to a certain extent, foreign pilots. And so now he's reporting about a paying customer. You know, this person is very suspicious. A list of facts that pointed to Moussaoui being a terrorist. He wanted to learn to fly but not take off and land. I have never seen such a unusual person seeking flight instruction.